Greetings to us and welcome to another video. I went to locals this past weekend. Uh, I'm trying to do a habit of going to locals every week and just reporting how my matches and my games go throughout each and every week. This is the second week out of the new TCG Forbidden Limited list format that we have on 2024, and I still piloted the Tearlaments deck. So I'm just going to briefly show you the list, and then we'll talk about the updates and we'll talk about my matches because I had a better run this week than I had the previous week. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin. Three Rhinoheart, three Tier Cash, the three tier names. I think this is standard on every tier deck by now. We're still playing the Visas engine. We're still playing the Horus engine. We're still playing the dangers. However, there is a slightly higher danger count. Fusion Parasite. This is basically there because of the Visas engine. Perlarino is still 3. We're still playing 3 Foolish Goods. Triple Scream. Double Primitive Planet. Double Arrival. Double Kingsark. Terraforming. Reborn. Rhoda. One new addition is the Danger Response team. The 1 3 Karma and the triple Solyak. 50 cards. X-Ray, Double Lightheart, Cross Sheep, SP Little Knight, Diabolantis, Baron, Redoer, Vampire, Garura, Mud, Stapelia, Astraloud, Roll Kalos, Kaleidoheart, Grapha. Side deck. I guess I should talk about the side deck a little bit afterwards. Um, let's go with the explanations. So the main thing that I did with this list is I took out the Chisu Shufflers. I moved them to the side. We'll talk about the side deck a bit later. And there's one other card that I cut. I don't remember which one off the top of my head. But the 3 cards that I replaced it with was these 3 danger cards. So I already explained it on my last list when it was in the side deck, but now it's mainly in the main deck. Basically, what I'm doing here is I'm playing a slightly higher danger package than most people are used to. I kind of want to play 3 Mothman, but I didn't have them at the time, and the space was really tight. I don't want to go above 50 cards. I feel like 50 is like the sweet spot for me, because you don't get to see enough of your bricks, but at the same time you do get to see enough of your engine. I did not brick a single time in this tournament. Same with the last tournament. I think the most awkward hand that I had was one with double scream Tearlaments Kashtira, but it was still playable because I managed to mill 6 and it got my engine going with the mills. You can say that was pretty much like lucky or fortunate from my behalf, but I feel like this deck has a lot of starters that can just like start the game. Like if we put across the board, we have the Rhoda, you have the terraforming. The Horus engine is still considered like a starting engine, so you have that plus the Imseti. Rayphobia is not really a good draw. You don't want to open this. However, it does get you to Visa Starfrost, which can get you to a bit of your engine. Uh, I think Foolish Goods is still the best starter. So, like, if you count the copies of Foolish Goods, that's another starter right there. Proto Rhino is another starter. Uh, Obviously, we're talking about the Horus engine. Uh, this is awkward, but it's still a one card starter that gets you to Baron plus SP plus follow up. So that's really, really strong. Best start. Samsara is the best starter, obviously. So like, if you take a lot of the cards in this deck, like there's a lot of different cards that really just start the game and just get your engine rolling. It's like this is the one of the more consistent decks that I've played in a while, and it really paid off because I did not break a single time. Like I did have one or two awkward hands, but it was not like unplayable by any means. So going back to the dangers, that entire rant was just to explain why one Mothman. So since we're playing the Horus engine and we're playing the Visa Astraloud engine as well, we have a lot of ways to summon a zombie vampire, and this also helps because they're both level 8. Another really cool note is if you make the Grapha fusion, these become disruptions, extra disruptions with the Grapha fusion. I did that once uh, in one duel, and it did win me the game. These, oh, the other thing is these monsters are just big. Like this has 3K, this has 28. Like, and they're just standalone monsters you can just summon under simplified game state. I played against like a Dark World opponent and he had Skill Drain on board, and I managed to just out resource him because my tier monsters floated. I had the danger monsters that were just big in general. So for the explanation behind response team, this is a card that removes monsters without destroying them, and I think that detail is very very important going into next format because you don't want to destroy like your opponent's Fire King cards. If you're playing against Orchist, they have Dingirsu that protects their board. This plays around that also. You have enough ways to get rid of monsters without destroying them in this deck. Like for example, Kaleido Heart, and like I'm still citing Super Poly talents. Um, However, just having a searchable in-engine out to monsters that you can just activate in this deck is pretty really cool. The other really cool thing about this card is it does have a graveyard effect, and I did trigger the graveyard effect once in the past tournament. So if you end up milling this card and you just have a danger on your hand, you can just use this effect, pitch the danger, and just keep your engine rolling. Like having this in the graveyard and Ness in hand is pretty cool because it's pretty much just a +1 that you just got out of just milling this card. And this card always goes back to the bottom of your deck, so it's a resource that you always will have even after milling it. So that's it for the danger explanations. Would I play this engine again? I'll be very honest with you. I am looking for replacements. I might replace this engine with something else. It's not that the engine wasn't good. It's just that it didn't really come up enough. Like I didn't have enough games where these cards were milled or this card was in my hand or I had multiple dangers. The most relevant game was the one game I had with Bigfoot and Grapha in hand. I guess one other relevant game was I had Danger Thunderbird against Rescue Ace, and I tried to use it to like snipe their back row. But that's about it. Um, I still think all the other engines are fine. I the Visa's engine came up Like I won 3 games under Abyss Dweller because I had this engine in my deck. If this was any other engine, I probably would have lost that game or probably would have lost that match. Um, but yeah, I got dwellered by dinosaurs once, and I got dwellered by Dark World twice, and all those 3 games I won it because I won because Vicious Astrolaud's summon is not an effect from monsters; it's just an inherent special summon from the Astrolaud by banishing the materials. So basically, I made it so I could get to Baron plus SP plus this, even under Abyss Dweller, which is really cool about this engine compared to like other decks in the Tearlament deck. Like, yes, I am losing access to Beatrice, which is one of the best monsters that you can play in Tearlaments. But I feel like without the Ichizu Millers, like Beatrice is strong, but it's not like super oppressive in this deck unless you're played very specific cards that just counter your opponent. Like I don't want to waste 2 level 6 monsters just so I can have access to the Chizu Shufflers. Like I rather just mill them like naturally or have other stuff. I feel like I you don't have to play this engine, but if you're a Tier Elements player and you're looking for options and you don't have stuff like the Horus engine because it's a little bit too expensive right now, or you don't have stuff like uh, you don't like the bestial version, or you don't like playing like with the malicious engine because I'm not really a fan of that engine at all. Like I feel like it gives you access to Beatrice. It is very potent if you mill the right cards, but you're just going to break a lot more with that engine more than not. Even though you have ways to like circumvent that by summoning like Destiny Hero Dangerous, I feel like the Visas engine is just like the best way to play the deck. Like and it overperformed. Uh, so fun fact, I to this day I still have not resolved the Visas combo. Like this card has not left my extra deck in any game on any tournament, and I played like around 9 matches in total with this deck. So I don't know how I feel about this. Uh, Funnily enough, I did mill Fusion Parasite like a lot. I milled it like uh, uh I milled it enough times. I did drew and opened the Fusion Parasite like 1 or 2 games as well. Uh, One really funny game is I milled it and then I monster reborned it. And because it was special summon, it got its graveyard effect, and I managed to fuse for Grapha, which is pretty cool. Uh, I've I didn't open Monster Reborn as much, but I still feel like in a deck like this one, this card is phenomenal. I think going into next format, you should really look into cards like this one because uh, graveyard manipulation is going to be very, very, very important post Phantom Nightmare. Uh, my I still need to make a video on that. So other things to note, I feel like at first I was skeptical about the Rayphobia ratios. I didn't know if 2 and 2 was correct. I cited out one Rayphobia 1 game, and it came up. I almost lost the game because I milled the first one and I didn't have a second one. Um, so I feel like this ratio is correct. Maybe you can lower a rival to 1. However, with so easy access to Visa Starfrost and with your Starfrost engine, like as a whole, I feel like 2 and 2 is correct, even if you just end up milling them. And what's really cool is that since uh, they're both searchable out of Trivy Karma, so if you end up opening Foolish Burial Goods and you don't want to like start with your tier limit place, um, you can pretty much just use Trivy Karma to search either Rayphobia and a rival and just like play with the Visas engine, which did come up. Um, I think that's it regarding the main deck. I I think all the other ratios are correct. I I did not see the horse engine enough games this time compared to last time, but I it did work out. Something I'm probably gonna do every time I do a weekly report is talk about which of these three names I milled the most, because I just find it very funny because they all do the same thing, but you know it's kind of it's cool that I just add a little bit of trivia to what I'm already doing with my deck. So out of those three names, the one I was milling the most was Merly. Like I milled Merly a lot. I almost never milled Halfness, and I almost always added Sharon to my hand with either Soliak or uh, Primeval Planet. But yeah, so that's it for the main deck. I guess we should talk about the extra deck a bit. As I already brought up, I to this day I still have not summoned Mantis, so I still don't know if this is good. Like the combo with Visa Samsara. By the way, if you haven't seen that combo, it's on my previous deck profile that I did last week. But to this day, I still have not pulled off the Visa Samsara combo. So this essentially could have been anything else, and it still would have been fine for me. I still like all the tier names. One thing that's different is I took out Dugaris from the extra deck and I put in Garura. It has not come up yet. Like since I am playing enough monsters that can make this, and since I am playing Super Polymerization in my side deck, I feel like you kind of want to have this card and like not regret not having not having it. Um, I think I summoned Vampire only once. I summoned Redoer only once, and I got skill drained, so it didn't really come up. I did summon Baron like 3 times. I summoned Espilito Knight a fair amount. Crowd Ship a bit, and I summoned this every game, like almost every game, because uh, I don't open Visa Samsara that much, but I opened Reichart a fair amount, and I really like that because, like, again, Reichart is not the best normal summon. However, it is like one of the more potent normal summons in this deck. So that's it for that. Let's talk about the side deck. So I moved the Ichizu Shufflers to the side. Call by. I'm still playing Cosmic. I'm still playing Droplets. I'm still playing Super Poly. That never changed. One new addition I did was I put 3 talents. So I feel like moving forward, talents is going to be in my deck, either in the main or in the side. But like this card overperformed. I cannot say the talents didn't. Like I literally almost lost a game against Dark World because they had the talents on me. Uh, I played against a Rescue Ace opponent. Well, which was my only loss in Swiss. Shout out to Gary, fellow EJ gaming team member. And in our last match that we were facing, I had a ridiculous end board, but I held almost literally all my interactions with monsters against him because I tried my very best to play around the tactic talents, and I lost that game because I ended. My big mistake was I sent Kaleido Heart to the graveyard with Soliak's effect, and he had the rescue in his hand, and he had Hydrant on board. So he took my Kaleido Heart, and he managed to use it, which was one of the things that I kind of wanted to avoid when it comes to like playing around talents and stuff. But yeah, I feel like this card should be in your deck if you're playing a combo deck. Like, there's a lot of hand traps running around the format. Uh, Moving forward, I might put this in the main deck and just replace the dangers. I'm not 100% sure yet, but there's no way this card is not leaving my deck. Um, Super Poly did not come up a lot. Um, Funnily enough, talent droplets did come up. It did win me my dinosaur match. Shout out to Jeremy. He made a really ridiculous end board, but I did open the droplets, um, and it pretty much secured the game. Triple Cosmic. I've been seeing people debating whether or not this card is viable in this format or not, and my answer is a very resounding yes. Like, just having cards that can remove cards from the board without destroying them is really key. So, yeah, you should still play this. Um, I don't regret playing Cold By. The number one reason I don't main it is because when it comes to the Tearlament deck, as I mentioned before, I did not break once, and the thing is, like, since I lost every single die roll yesterday except the Jeremy match, um, so like I've this time playing this deck in two tournaments, I've lost 7 die rolls. So I kinda want to make sure that I have enough of my engine that I can play almost every game, whether or not I'm going first or not. That's the only main reason I wasn't maining talents in the first place. Otherwise, I would be maining talents. I liked the danger engine in here because it meant that whether I'm going first or second, it can get my engine rolling. It's just other monster extenders. Worst case scenario, I just keep the dangers in my hand and I use it on the following turns. I'll be very honest with you. These have not come up for me. Like, I'm almost close to even cutting them, but they're really good mills. Like, I feel like we're in a format where graveyard is super important. You should be playing these, but that one time I did play them, I just kept opening them in my hand instead of getting them milled, and that's something I wasn't a fan of because I don't have a lot of discard fodder in this deck. I don't play like stuff like, for example, the Link Two guy, Barricade Board Blocker. Like, I'm not playing stuff like that. Like, my main discard fodder besides the dangers is the Horus cards. So I really don't know how I feel about these. I do like the call by. I think this stays in my deck. Everything else, I think, was fine. Yeah, like I didn't have any issues with any card played in my deck. So I finished second place. My only loss was to Rescue Ace in the finals. Uh, Before that, I played against Dinosaurs. I played against Dark World. I played against Fire Kings. I 2-0'd all of them. I just feel like this deck just is really strong, like, in itself. Uh, Rescue Ace is one of the better decks in the format at the moment, so I'm not really that surprised. Although I did lose game one because I lost the die roll, which is very important. Um, the reason that it's very important that I lost the die roll is because he opened full combo. Well, it's very there's a very big nuance when it comes to the word full combo because uh, Rescue Ace is still under experimentation, but the end board that he made was he ended on SP Little Knight, like 4 back row, and let's pretend that this is the Hydrant. Let's pretend this is the Turbulence, and let's pretend like let's pretend that this is like the Preventer, or the Fire Engine rather. So this was his end board. And to make matters worse, he opened Ash Blossom, and Droll Lockbird. If it wasn't for the hand traps, I probably would have played around the board. But since he did open those two hand traps, Droll being the more significant one, it really hindered a lot of my engine, and I couldn't fight through the board entirely. I almost fought through the board because he did misplay. Uh, the misplay that he did was I activated Tearlaments Scream against him, and I activated Tearlaments Kashtira, and he let it go through, and that pretty much meant that I could chain block between these two, and he didn't waste any of his rescue cards on it because like it wasn't my normal summon yet, and he knows that I have more expendable resources. So, but what ended up losing me the duel was I ended up milling a second Scream, and the Scream got me to add Zodiac to my hand, and that's when he drolled. And that was like pretty much the end of that game. So, game two, what happened was I'll show you my end board because I opened really strong and he didn't have a hand trap on me. Well, in hindsight, he didn't have a hand trap. I'll explain the situation. So my end board was this was in my hand. I'm trying to remember. There was one other interruption here. I don't remember if I had Mod Dragon or not, but I think I had Mod Dragon on board. I think it was this board. So it was something similar to this. And I don't think I had Rule Kalos. So this was almost the end board that I had. I also had the primitive planet. I mean the primeval planet. So this was my end board. This is the end board that I ended on. I had the Tearlaments Kashtira in hand, and the other card in my hand was Rhoda. I didn't activate Rhoda because I just felt like I kind of wanted it for follow up, or just wanted to like grab me something for next turn, whether that would be like Reinhardt or Reichhardt. But that was pretty much like my end board. This was my hand, and there was almost nothing. There was almost nothing in the graveyard. There was nothing relevant in the graveyard outside of like one Zodiac or one Scream. Because I ended up fusing and putting back like everything else that I milled for the monsters that are currently on board. So this was my end board. You're probably the first thing you're probably thinking is I outright lose to Evenly Matched, and I just took the risk. I just told myself, if they play it, they play it. Because if they don't have the evenly matched, they really struggle against this board. Because you cannot right kick your Dark Hole or like board wipe these two monsters. The moment they try to like do something about the resources, both the Horus monsters trigger, which is something very important. One thing to note: people always keep forgetting that Happy can put back cards from the banish or graveyard back to like a player's deck. Like people are so tunnel visioned on like the return effect that they don't notice that this card can return cards, and that almost lost Gary the game because shoutouts to Gary again. Shoutouts to EJ Gaming. Like yeah, he was very very. He pretty much played a query on me. He was like literally asking me everything that is possible that I can do with this card. And I'm not afraid of telling my opponents like everything that the card does and how the cards interact and stuff, because One, he's a fellow team member. Two, is a locals, and three is like, you know, my goal is always to just have as much fun with my opponent and just have make sure that my opponent knows what they're doing when they're playing with their deck. Same thing with mine, and I'm just gonna have to say like I'll give two claps to Gary because he played through my end board with his engine, and he did it really really well. Like he opened alert emergency. Uh, it was alert emergency. I don't remember if he opened hydrant or not, but I do. He I think he had access to turbulence. I don't remember, and something else. Um, I don't remember like all the cards, but mm, oh, he did open Ash Blossom, and that was a very very big deal because I didn't chain block with the scream. I just like outright activated the scream on his summon, and he immediately just prompted the Ash Blossom, which who knows would have been helpful or not because maybe he would have milled me a tier name. Like who knows? But yeah, like I didn't want to shotgun like the swamp dragon too early, and he had access to airlifter, and he did not add emergency to his hand, which already told me he already had emergency in his hand. So since I read him having emergency, I held on to Soliak and like Kaleido Heart and Pearl Rhino interaction until I knew there was something I could interact with that wasn't his rescue cards. Because the moment he dodges one of these cards with the emergency, the other two cards just don't work. Um, so I needed to make sure that like whenever he activated emergency, I could chain the Soliak in order for me to like be able to respond with the Pearl Rhino and the Kaleido Heart. But the one problem was he had rescue in hand, and not only did he have the rescue spell in hand, he had the hydrant on board. And if he didn't have hydrant on board, he still would have gotten to hydrant with emergency anyway. And he also summoned fire engine at one point. So it he pretty much played it in a way that he made sure that the hydrant was always on board for when he activated and resolved the rescue spell. That way he could take my Kaleido Heart and avoid the Kaleido Heart effect. And that was my misplay. My misplay was that with Soliak, I sent the Kaleido Heart and I didn't send anything else. I should have sent something else and not the Kaleido Heart. Like for example, I could have sent the Tearlaments Kashtira, and if that would have milled me tier names, that would have triggered the Kaleido Heart in a separate chain without worrying about my opponent taking it from the graveyard. Um, Sending I'm Seti would not have been the play because he does play Dark in his extra deck, and that means he had access to just take the I'm Seti from me, and that just would have applied more pressure. So the number one monster I should have sent with the Soliak effect should have been the Happy. Uh, One other thing is he booked the Happy like with the prevent. Well, he tried to book the Happy with the preventer, and now remembering this game, I did get to mill a tier name, which got me into summoning Dragos Tapelia, wherever that is. And this and I put back the Mud Dragon, putting the Stapelia on board, and I had the Stapelia to just stop his fire engine or his stop his preventer, which was another thing that I tried to do with my opponent. I just tried to like use the Stapelia as a way to force my opponent to use emergency. That way I can use my Soliak to negate. Um, but yeah, it was a very interesting duel. He ultimately got the win. I wasn't like upset about that game at all. Like he pretty much played very very well with his resources, and I like duels like that. I enjoy duels where one player interact with the other player with what their deck is trying to do, and just like use the engine of their deck to just play around their resources properly. The Rescue Ace deck is not a one trick pony. It's not like a Turbulence deck and just pass. Like the deck has a lot of really strong plays, and winning the match against me just proved it. Uh, so I couldn't be any more happy that I got second place. But yeah, that's it from me. Pretty lengthy video. I know that I spoke a little bit about this. So this next week, I'll probably be going to more locals. There is the Tropical Island Challenge. For those who remember last year, or for those who have been on my channel since last year, I did win one of the events last year. Like I still have my champion mat. So I don't think I have a very good shot at earning the title again, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be post Maze of Millennia, so it might be very very interesting seeing what decks pop up in the format. Uh, I'll update you guys on next week, depending on what happens. Not 100% sure if this is the deck choice that I'll play for the event, but for now, this is the deck I've been liking the most in this current format. So, most likely. I'll probably do other IRL deck profiles sooner or later. Just showing you other decks that I probably would like to play in this format, or decks that I have considered. I'm not gonna show Punk because I already showed Punk on this channel, but I probably will show other stuff, like for example Valence. I do have almost all the Valence cards, so that would be an interesting profile. One last thing. For those who have not been paying attention, I am doing a giveaway for this mat. The giveaway ends on the 18th, so this upcoming Friday. Just tune into my channel, go to the video where I'm giving away this mat, and just look for the instructions. But yeah, until then, keep practicing and keep dueling.